Welcome to the Armani Talks YouTube channel. I'm your host, Armani Talks. In this channel, I'm covering communication skills for you to level up your way with words and become much more articulate. If you're new to this channel, every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I'm dropping brand new videos on how to improve your public speaking, social skills, creative writing, and many more other skill sets to turn your ideas into reality. Join the tribe by hitting that subscribe button right on below, hit that bell notification, and never miss another video again. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back, and be sure to drop that like on your way in as we enter the world of social skills and we talk about compliments. Not any kind of compliments. I'm talking about sniper compliments, otherwise known as genuine compliments. When you think about it, there's always that stage in a person's life when they're lacking credentials. It may be a new intern who is in a networking event and they're surrounded by a whole bunch of people who have been in the company for over a decade. They may be in the networking event with the CEO of the company. In this scenario, how can the intern make the other people temporarily forget about their lack of credentials in order to build a strong impression? Through the right compliment. If this intern is wise, then they'll be able to observe, let's say, the CEO, listen to this person, and eventually be able to gather enough data in order to focus on the little details. Not the big details. I'm talking about the tiny little details. And that's why I call it the sniper compliments. Have you ever been to Walmart before? I'm sure you have. Are you somewhat aware of how Walmart started? Do you know what made it so freaking big? It's because the founder, Sam Walton, focused on the little things. When Sam Walton was first making Walmart even a thing, he had competitors known as Kmart and Target. These two back in the days were the head honchos in terms of retail stores. And Sam Walton wasn't quite sure how he was going to compete with them. I mean, they had such a big budget for marketing. Well, Sam, he was still this newbie. Plenty of people around Sam's corner, they didn't think that he had the resources and that he shouldn't pursue Walmart too much. But Sam, he had different plans. He did something that was very unique. Where Kmart and Target were focusing on the big cities, Sam was focusing on the small areas where it's those local communities where everyone knows each other. If someone gets in trouble, most of the community is going to find out later that day. That's how small of a community. This is where Sam Walton decided that he was going to start growing his Walmarts. In the initial stages, his close circle, they were like, Sam, you're crazy. I mean, why don't you also compete in those big cities? Why are you going into these small, tiny towns for? But Sam, he ignored the criticism and he focused on his plan because he understood something that the people around him didn't understand. Think about it like this. If you're someone who lives in a small community, what typically happens in your day? Most likely the same thing over and over again. It's just something that these town people want that is different. And you know what's different? A store that sells everything. And when one of these locals go to a store that sells everything, what do they want to do? They want to tell all their friends and family about it. Yo guys, you won't believe it. I went to this one store today and they sell toys, they sell grocery. No, I'm serious. They sell toys and grocery in the same exact store. You don't believe me? Okay, come with me. I'll show you. What is this guy doing? He's marketing Walmart to the other locals. Sam Walton saw that by focusing on the small areas, he was saving a whole bunch of money on marketing because he now had word of mouth marketing, which allowed him to get the saved money from the marketing expenses and use it to build more Walmarts. This is how the micro approach of Sam Walton's strategy allowed him to become the head honcho of one of the biggest retail companies in the world. This goes on to show that focusing on the small things can produce macro results. Likewise with social skills, whenever someone is thinking of compliments, they may first focus on the big things. They may be like, okay, well, let me focus on how tall this person is. They must be happy about that, because if I had height like that, I too would be proud. And it's not necessarily like the height doesn't matter, but when focusing on the small details, I noticed that small details can be defined by how much control the person has of this input. So someone's height, they don't necessarily have too much control in regards to it, but they have control over their fashion sense, their career choice, their work ethic. The more control that this person has over whatever you're trying to give compliments on, the more it registers to them that you're focusing on the little details. And let me give you an example of the whole height issue. Up until, I would say 10th grade, I was 5'3". And I was told that this is how tall I was going to be for the rest of my life. Eventually, I started to hear from a couple of people that if I played basketball, that meant I was going to get much taller. I was sold. I wasn't too much of a scientific mind back then. I heard if you play basketball, you'll get taller. So I played a lot of basketball. From the summer of 10th grade up until the beginning of 11th grade, it just so happened that I went from 5'3" to 6 foot tall. And no, it wasn't because of basketball. I was also hitting puberty at the same time. But when I went back into school, I was way taller. I looked almost unrecognizable. And plenty of kids gave me compliments. They were like, hey, good job. You're now in the 6 foot club. Congratulations. And they were predominantly giving me compliments regarding that. There was one girl, though, who was close to me. Her name was Eiley, a pretty heavy girl, short, was always smiling. We used to call her Smiley Eiley. And she heard my story regarding playing basketball to get taller. And she took a different approach in regards to her compliment. She's like, you know, Armani, you have a great work ethic to play basketball for, what, you said 2 hours a day? Wow, I can't imagine how much work ethic it took. Her compliment was felt by me, while all these other people giving me compliments on my height was somewhat felt by me. It's because the height was the end product, and it was something that I didn't have much control over. But with basketball, I had control when I went on the court, shot around, played, stretched, and all of that. So Eiley was giving me a sniper compliment. The next time you're in a certain location where you're intimidated by the lack of credentials, it may be wise to flip the thinking from how can I get others to like me to how can I make others more aware about themselves? And how can I make them aware by allowing them to know that I was focusing on the little details, the details which they had full control over. It may be their fashion sense. It may be their work ethic as they rose up the company. It may be how they dealt with tough times in order to make this company successful in the first place. Sniper compliments are a profound way in order to build charisma. And this is one of the topics that I bring up in my book, The Charisma King. In The Charisma King, I give a lot of practical insights and stories on how to turn social anxiety into social excitement, how to make small talk with other people, to turn strangers into acquaintances, acquaintances into friends. I talk about how to stop hearing and start listening more, and how to give compliments in such a profound way so others have no option but to remember you. The Charisma King is currently out on Gumroad, and I'm going to drop the link for the book in the description box and the pinned comment right on below, or you can go straight to ArmaniTalks.com and grab your copy today. Thank you very much for joining the Armani Talks YouTube channel, and I will catch you next time.